It's no secret that Michigan, the state that gave the world the first mass-produced and affordable car, has a love affair with anything on wheels. But cars aren't the only things on wheels. Each summer, nearly 8,000 history buffs and gearheads from all over get together on the old Smalley Farm just south of Mason, Michigan, to celebrate agriculture's mechanized past. The Michigan Steam Engine and Thrashers Club started in 1958 and held its first show at Charlton Park near Hastings. But as luck would have it, Michigan, the state that gave America the automobile, also gave America and itself freeways. In the late 1960s, an ever-expanding and heavily populated southern Michigan added literally hundreds of miles of new superhighways. One of those highways, US 127, grew from a bumpy two-lane blacktop to a major artery connecting the cities of Lansing and Jackson. Unfortunately, highway construction also stranded parts of some farms, like the 15 acres on the eastern side of the Smalley Farm near Mason. The Smalleys, who were also members of the Michigan Steam Engine and Thrashers Club, soon realized that those 15 acres, which now sat on a major freeway, would make an ideal location for the annual 3-day summer show. There are several antique farm equipment shows around the U.S. and Canada, but as Michigan Steam Engine and Thrashers Club Vice President Roy Every explains, there is one thing that makes this show different from most.
A lot of shows, it seems that their stuff is on display, but we try to do activity and go through the motions of the old ways of farming.
We generally have an average between 25 and 30 engines, and they're always running. They're doing something. Either we're plowing with them, we're sawing with them. We even have a transfer sled so you can see how much power is in them and when they're pulling with them.
We have got some people as far away as South Dakota here, and I was just talking to our president, and he said, the gentleman that's here from South Dakota said, you people do things and you have fun around here.
The show is an educational experience for young and old alike. There are steel-wheeled gas-powered tractors. There are steam-powered sawmills, working wheat thrashing operations, friendly plowing competitions between wood-fired and coal-fired steam engines, real live blacksmiths, antique cars. And if you ever heard Grandpa talk about courting Grandma and the old doodle bug, well, we've got a couple of those too. One of the highlights of the 3-day event is the Daily Tractor Parade, where visitors get to watch some very unique steam, diesel, and gas-powered machines and their owners enjoy the summer breeze.
What's pretty unique is the upright boiler, the Westinghouse we have here this year. That comes to us from the Charlton Park Steam Association, but that is an upright boiler that's an attraction type. There was plenty of upright boilers made for stationary power, but in a traction engine that's portable. The Westinghouse that was built in the late 1800s is here this weekend, and that's pretty interesting attraction.
With gas and diesel tractors, the debate rages on as to which color is the best. Some prefer black, some like red, or gray and red. Some are partial to yellow, while others prefer orange. And, oh yes, and a couple of the folks seem to favor green. And for those who can't resist a show of horsepower, there are the tractor pulls.
Our tractor pull is non-competitive. They actually can pull and make the little tractors look like they're doing the same job as the big tractors. So everybody has fun.
Ever wonder how they get that shredded wheat into your bowl every morning? We'll find out. And coming up later, how much wood would a sawmill mill if a sawmill were powered by steam? We'll have the answer. Stay tuned. There is more to come from the 50th Annual Michigan Steam Engine and Thrashers Club show. Welcome back to the 50th Michigan Steam Engine and Thrashers Club show. Some people like to use their steam engine to cut wood. Some like to prove how much their iron horse can pull. But some...
I enjoy thrashing. That's one of my favorite things.
Meet Sam London. He and his sons like to separate the wheat from the chaff. literally.
Well, you're separating the wheat from the straw, and then they take the wheat, make bread, wheat flour, and then they use the straw. They usually come in with a wooden baler that's belted up to another engine, and then you actually pitch the straw into the baler itself rather than drive the baler. Make your bundle or your straw bales for winter bedding. It's fun to get out and shock the wheat, do it like they used to. We get a crew together, like the old thrashing crews, bundle it up, throw it on the wagons, and then we thrash here, and then sometimes we'll thrash at home in the fall just to have a play day with something to do. And it's fun to actually operate the engines with some equipment than just ride around.
The steam engine modernized the wheat harvest, accomplishing in hours what used to take days.
You could probably thrash, an acre of grain in, an hour or so maybe. When they thrash them hard and they were working in their days, I'd say they'd go through a wagon in 15, 20 minutes. And the engine stays fired. They bring water to the engine. And they used to have teams of horses that would bring the wheat wagons, the bundle wagons, right to the separator. So it'll stay running almost continuous all day.
Harvesting wheat wasn't the only job on the farm that the steam engine helped to modernize.
If you think about plowing with a horse, they might have, if you had a big team of horses, you might use a 2-bottom plow. With some of the engines here today, they can plow with a 12 to 14, possibly a 20-bottom plow. So when you think about plowing with 2 bottoms versus 12 to 14, you can get a lot more work done in a day with a lot less help, and it increased the amount of farms that, the size of farms you could have. And back then, it didn't take a very big farm to support a family.
There may be a few hobbies that are more expensive, but there aren't many that are actually bigger.
Well, it's like a hobby of anybody's, you know. We're in a farming community, and it's kind of in your blood. And if you like history, you've got to kind of like history to go along with that you get into the beginning stages of the farming industry, and this is how it all started. And then thrashing is just part of the things that they did with steam engines, along with sawing and plowing. And we do that all here to try and demonstrate what they used to do.
Most people are familiar with the history of Michigan's automotive industry, but few know that it was preceded by a steam engine industry.
There actually was a steam engine built in Lansing, and I believe it was in the 1880s or 90s, and there is one left in existence. And there were also 2 different brands built in Battle Creek, Michigan, and one built in Port Huron, Michigan also.
Few steam engines are as coveted as the J.I. Case.
The one that was here today that you saw thrash is a 1922, I believe, and in its day, I believe the price book was about $3,000 in around 1920. That was a lot. It's just like a farmer today that spends a couple $100,000 for a combine.
Since steam engines were so expensive, farm neighbors were often forced to get along.
The guy that bought the engine would help all of his neighbors, and then in turn they would help him, and not everyone owned one. It was a kind of a community thing then, and everybody got along with everybody and helped everybody do their farming.
Stay tuned. There's more to come from the 50th Michigan Steam Engine and Thrashers Club show. Welcome back to the 50th Michigan Steam Engine and Thrashers Club show. Like farming in the 19th century, logging required tremendous amounts of man and horsepower. The steam traction engine changed all of that.
They used to do it by hand, okay, and they had like a bandsaw, and one guy on top and one guy in the bottom, and they just moved up and down. And they'd run their logs that way, or use an axe, a broad axe, and chip them out.
For the past 25 summers, John Rhodes and about a dozen of his Michigan Steam Engine and Thrashers Club friends have turned back the clock by powering up a real working steam-powered sawmill. The steam engine drives a flat belt that in turn powers the saw blade and the conveyor system. On a log's first pass under the blade, the outer layers of bark and slab wood are removed. The slab wood and bark pieces are trimmed to length on another saw that is powered by an antique gas engine machine. In days gone by, farmers would use those pieces as firewood to heat a home or power the steam engine. Once the log has been rough cut, it gets cut again into dimensional lumber.
2x4s, 2x6s, 2x8s, whatever they wanted, whatever the wood was, cherry wood, walnut. They used white oak, for example, for like skirting around pole barns. They use them for roof boards. Some of them make picnic tables out of them. Some of them used for furniture.
Despite the steam tractor's size, he's not the biggest dog on this job site. Meet the big guy, one towering hunk of steam engine. His job today is to help these puny little men lift these itty-bitty logs.
The crane that we used was actually ended up as a pile driver, and they were doing that down by Novi. And that was probably, they ran that into the 70s. And when they got done with that project for the roads, they decided to get rid of it, and we ended up with it. And we used it for moving our logs from the ground up to the carriage. And we use big log tongs, and we hook them, and that's what we use it for now. It's hard to move. It's a lot of tonnage.
There are also demonstrations of some smaller lumber milling operations using smaller pieces of lumber.
Those are cut for shingles, and that goes over to our shingle mill, and it's a hand-operated shingle mill. It's run by gas or steam. The blade, instead of being straight up and down like you see on your table saw, it's laying flat. And then we run that block, what they call block, right across it. And it's on an angle, and you'll see that it goes from a thin piece to maybe a 1/4 inch thick, and that's their shingles. And that's how they shingled them years ago, and most, like I say, mostly out of cedar, and because they last for and they shed water pretty good.
The smallest steam engines were reserved for fine, detailed mill work. Steam-powered lathes and the delicate touch of seasoned craftsmen helped to make Grand Rapids the nation's furniture capital over 100 years ago. Much of the fine antique woodwork in Michigan's oldest homes was created on lathes just like these.
It's all hand tooled, and they'll make anything you want out of wood, and it's the old wood shop that we were used to in school.
We hope you enjoyed your ride and your time with us today. If you did, we'll be doing it all again next summer at the Michigan Steam Engine and Thrashers Club show.